All right, so hello, we're here again. Let's just jump into it. No dilly-dallying. I have a lot to cover this video, so we're just hopping into it. January 22nd, I don't know, someday I decided, hey, I cannot keep procrastinating on redoing this art piece. Let's just go. Let's just do it. And so I did. And I decided not to use Clip Studio Paint anymore because Krita 5 came out. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to use Krita 5, but I'm like, how am I going to justify using Krita 5 when I have all this comic work to do? But then I realized, oh wait, that hands piece, I did it in Krita originally. So my thought process was, why don't I just redo the hands piece in Krita? I know I started with Clip Studio Paint and all, but you know, Krita 5, she's so sexy, she's so cool, she's so smart. I love her. I love her to death. So I'm like, okay, we're going to Krita. We're jumping ship. So that's why we're in Krita today. Nobody asked, but it's a good program. It's a good art program. I'll rep Krita whenever, you know, whenever it's needed. So, yeah, after like, I don't know, a month, actually a few months, it's probably been like 3 months to be honest, of procrastinating on like actually starting this hands piece, I was like, screw it. And this cannot go on for any longer. I need to get my stuff together. And so I did, with a very weird and indistinguishable accent. It was probably like 9 p.m. when I first started the sketch, and I was like, yeah, you know, let's get into it. Let's do this. And then I forgot all about my plan that I want to do like this talk while drawing thing. So I'm like, no, we'll just do a voiceover for like the first part of the sketching, and which is why we're here. I won't take up your time much longer because I didn't really film all of the sketch. So yeah, that's what's going on. Today we're doing this piece. We're going, baby. Let's go. Here we are. We're in Krita. It's real time. I'm talking while I'm drawing. I don't know what I'm doing. So basically lots of people like the red background and the light hands and yeah, basically you get it. You know what I'm talking about. So a lot of people like this, and I was like, all right, bet, let's go. And so that's what I chose, and here are all my references and this stuff that I did for the previous part of this mini series if you haven't watched it. So right now the plan is to get in my base colors probably so that I can make this whole thing work. Alrighty, so for the skin right now, I think I'm just gonna do a little very gray blue tone, but less blue tone than whatever I had in the thumbnail. So while I'm doing these super fun and totally not mind-numbing flats, let's talk a bit about what I've been up to with this piece while Discord goes off. Thanks for that. So what I've been doing is that I've been recently experimenting with what sort of processes, what sort of things I like when I'm painting, basically. That's been the main point of discussion for myself and what I've been practicing a lot while I've been away. So no, while I was honestly just procrastinating on making this video, I was doing something. I wasn't just slacking off. Don't worry, y'all. I was getting work done, good work done. I figured out that for me, it's easier to be able to do painterly stuff if I have a very detailed sketch compared to a very loose one. Like, the more detailed for me, the better. But not like more detailed as in like a bunch of lines everywhere. The less lines, the better, but the lines have to be in the right places. I don't know how to explain it, but I like my sketches like clean. Like here, you don't see me using a lot of like really sketchy looking strokes. They're usually like really bold, and that's just what I like. Oh yeah, I also added nails to the hands because, you know, I don't know, I just thought that looked a bit more spooky, a bit more frightening. I don't know. I just thought it looked cooler and it seemed like it'd be fun to draw, so then I added it. Alright, and I'm done with the base, and I put in the red background, and I found out that I'm clearly not done with the base. But it is fine. I put the hands and the character on different layers because I'm very intelligent. That is why. And I don't know, this black hair is really throwing me off, throwing me for a loop, to be honest, because I don't think I can't really see the guidelines as well as I'd like to, which I mean is fine, because in general, whenever I'm trying to do more painterly pieces, I found out that if I rely too heavily on the guidelines, it will not turn out good. I know it sounds kind of like contrasting to what I said before about like, oh yeah, I need a clean sketch, but like I need a clean, non-intrusive sketch, if that makes sense. So what I usually do before I start like the whole heavy painting and stuff, I add a few gradients and stuff to make it less intimidating to get started on, because as it is right now, I wouldn't know where to start. This is one of the things I highly recommend for those of you who are trying to do painterly style, is start off with like gradients or something, at least like a pattern or something. You know what Ross does, where he like paints on top of like something that is like busy, something like that, so that it's less intimidating for you to just get started and jump in. And another thing I'd also recommend is to not rely too heavily on your lines. Like for me, I usually set my lines to very low opacities so that they're not super distracting. Okay, that's not too bad. I think for the white hands, honestly, I think those ones are going to be more simplistic than the character itself, you know, just for a nice little contrast. So I'm going to leave them like that for now until I decide what to do with them. So one of the things I found about painterly style is that it's a lot of decision making, and you have to be very methodical with your decisions, so that once you make a decision that you know you can stick to, that you stick to it. Or like if you make a decision and you're like, oh, I can't stick to this, you have to be able to know how to fix it. That's one of the biggest things that I've really been working to improve on, and one of the things I really learned. So now what I'm doing is that over top the gradient layer, this is just multiply mode, by the way, with like a blue-gray, I'm just gonna be blocking out my basic geometry, figuring out where the light's coming from. Here in the original, I kind of had a light coming in from the top right. You can't really see it because I was too scared to emphasize my lights and shadows. I still am, to be honest. But this time I want to be a bit more clear, since I'm better at anatomy and figuring out what faces do, what faces look like. I want the light to be... Where do I want the light to be coming from, actually? Maybe from here, from the left. You know, switching it up a bit. I freaking love the lasso fill tool in Clip Studio. And I was so happy to find that Krita had something similar after all these years, even after I've been looking for it. Like, one of the main reasons I went to Clip Studio for like regular illustrations is because of the lasso fill tool, and I had no idea that Krita had it this whole time. I'm like, no, I could have known about it for so long. But it's really convenient. That's what I like about it. So yeah, my painterly journey has been actually going pretty well. If you follow me on my Instagram, hint, 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 nudge, nudge, wink, wink, you will be able to see a lot of my practice pieces. Not all of them, because I do a lot more than I show, and the ones that I don't show are really bad. But you'll get to see most of them on my Instagram, and I think like I've definitely been getting better and more confident in my painterly skills. But, you know, it's all about figuring out the process and what works best for you. I know that's so cheesy. That sounds so cheesy, so lame, so like unpersonalized, but it is what it be. It be what it do, you know. But the biggest thing about painterly that like always intimidated me was always starting, because I never knew where to start. That is still honestly the hardest part for me. Like right now, the only reason I can feel like sort of okay with being able to do this is only because I have prior experience with making these types of portraits. Then we take off. If I take off the sketch and it still looks decent, I know I'm going in the right direction. Okay, and the next thing I do is probably for ease of blending later on. I just go with an airbrush and then just erase slightly around the edges. As you can see right now, I don't have my sketch layer on. You notice that? You notice that how I kind of like just forgot about it. I mean, I'm gonna need it later for like the nose and whatever to see what specific things I did there, but like I don't need it right now. And whenever I don't need it, I make quick work of getting rid of it. What I need to do now is just to add a bit more contrast. So I'm gonna go in with a big airbrush on the darker side where the light should not be hitting as much. And I'm gonna put it a multiply layer. Okay, I think I might be done with like my most basic of starting points. Like as you can see, like I could stop here. So here's what we got so far. I think it's looking pretty neat. And then here's what we start with. And this is why I like to keep my layers, because I can be like, ha, look at where I started, look where I am now. Oh, it's so pretty. But looking at the start and versus now, I feel like the hair could be darker. The hair could definitely be darker. Yeah, I think that's way better. That's way better. Lots more contrast. Perfect. Now this compared to the original. Okay, so basically now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start rendering, and I'm probably gonna do it's speed paint time mode because I don't think I'll be able to talk and render at the same time compared to laying down the very basics. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to test out brushes for a bit, see what I like blending wise, see what I don't like blending wise, and then I'll be rendering and I'll go back into speed paint mode. I'll see you there. All right, and we're back. So it's been like, I don't know, like 2 months since I finished this piece. Don't even, guys, no good excuse. I got a job. I'm busy. But anyways, so pretty much for the rendering part of this piece, I pretty much just started it out by like mucking around. To be honest, I really wasn't sure what type of brushes I wanted to use, and I kind of had a rough idea of what I wanted the end product to be, but I wasn't sure how to get there exactly. So I found a few brushes that I really liked, which were a simple airbrush, a medium hard airbrush, and an oil paint type of mixing type brush in Krita. They're not really complicated brushes, they all come inbuilt in the program, so you can find them if you look hard enough for them. I didn't really need any fancy brushes until I got up to the hair, which I used a slightly textured brush, but like, you know, it's still a default Krita brush, so yeah. So at the moment, after finishing this piece, I think I figured out a good workflow for the painterly art style that like hopefully can help you guys get a good painterly art style that makes you happy. But first, it's like the setup stuff that I did in the previous video and earlier this video. That's really good. I highly recommend doing some prep and setup before you start rendering your pieces if you're not like super comfortable with this workflow. So the main thing I did here was that I did a few passes with a big airbrush, like on multiply or something, to make some shadows darker and to add a bit of like blush, a bit of color to the skin, you know. Just to help it pop more. So after you do all your basic stuff, make sure that you have a really good base. That's what I really want to punch in. Have a really good base before you start getting into the details. Now, before, when I was like still practicing and trying to get like decent at this painterly thing, the part that would really stump me was the stuff that came after the base. So after I learned how to make the base, I was like, great, how do I do everything else? But here's what I kind of figured out. The way you can get a nice sort of like blend of colors and different values and stuff like that is to like right after you're done with the base, just like slap whatever you think will look good on there. Like with a hard brush or something that has like pretty good opacities, like a round brush or something. Just like put whatever colors you want. You're like, oh, I feel like there might be a shadow there. Just put it in. Maybe on a separate layer if you're not comfortable, that's fine too. Just sketch it in pretty much, just scribble on it. It doesn't have to be neat. In fact, it's actually pretty messy when I do it, but it gives you something to work with, which is what I wanna really dive into. For me, the most intimidating part of the rendering process is that when you look at a base that's just like gradients and like really harsh shadows, you're like, how do I blend this? How do I even know where anything goes? And it's like that kind of like fear when you're looking at a blank canvas or a blank page in your sketchbook or whatever. You just need to get something down before you can like generate more ideas on how to improve it. That's kind of the thought process and methodology. I don't know. That's kind of the method I take with it. It's kind of like making a sculpture, right? Before I need to do anything, I need clay. I need to have like material to work with. And basically me putting down like a bunch of scribbles like for shadows or highlights or just adding colors where I think they'd fit. That's me giving myself clay. That's giving me something to work with. So I spent a good chunk of the time like scribbling in shadows or like planes of the face where I think more light would hit, or I think light wouldn't hit. And along the way, I was also working a bit on contrast, like just like trying to like, you know, edge in, put in a bit of a deeper shadow, put in a bit more of a lighter highlight or whatever. I don't know. I was just trying to see what worked. It's just like throwing pasta on the wall and seeing if it sticks. So that's what I recommend at least. You can like mix it up in your own different and unique way. And I don't know, do whatever. But I find that for me, in order to make it less intimidating from the get-go, is to just get something on the canvas. You can always blend it out or color over it later. You're not dealing with line art. You can do whatever. So the step after you do all of those scribbles is probably one of my favorite steps. Because like once you have all the scribbles in like a brush that is kind of opaque or maybe has some fall off on it, you can get a lot of colors that are like kind of close to each other, but like not the exact same color, and they are perfect for blending, you know. I really like this one tool in Krita that looks like a Q-tip or like a blending stump. It's really good for blending, so if you're using Krita, I recommend that if you have any values that are like pretty close to each other that you just want to kind of blend or blur out into each other. Good brush. So while you are going haywire with like blending all your similarly shaded values, it is very important. Listen, it's very important that you do not blend out everything. The thing with painting or like painterly styles is that you have to be really good at keeping track of your edges. You just have to keep track and make sure everything doesn't look like a blurry mess. And if you want a more like concrete definition of somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, I recommend looking up Marco Bucci, his 10 Minutes to Better Painting series. Really good series, love it, great, amazing. 10 out of 10. He has a video on edges, I'm pretty sure, and I highly recommend giving it a look. Just know the good balance between hard and soft edges. This just takes practice. I'm sorry, I can't tell you how to do it or what to do. It just takes a lot of practice and a lot of looking at other artists' art to see what you do in certain scenarios. I can't give you a handy dandy fact to solve it for you. I wish I could. Otherwise I'd used it for myself, but it doesn't work that way. Now, mind you, this is still my very messy phase. Even if I do blend it out, it's probably going to get messed up later because I might decide I don't like this anymore. Let's change it, you know? It's a time where you have made a lot of decisions already that set up a good base, as I said before, but the thing is, it's still malleable. You can still change it. Like, you have to be willing to be flexible. I feel like that's something that a lot of people get stuck in, is that once they like lay down like a base, they're like, oh, I gotta use this base now. Like, that's it, I gotta finish it this way. No, you can change stuff. We can mold it to however you like it. All right, now that I told you all my secrets and my deepest, darkest thoughts, how do I feel about it? Not gonna lie, not fronting. I love this piece. I'm really proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself. And I think I'm even more proud of myself right now than when I first made the old version. It's like very, it's a unique experience to look at something that you made before and see that you've improved. It's very good. Not gonna lie, it's very good. And the color thumbnails were a godsend. Like, I never at any point in this piece found myself struggling about what colors to pick or what colors to use, since I already did all that work before. Go check out my previous video where I did that for this piece and made thumbnails and everything. It's pretty good. I highly recommend it. And the little collage I had on the right was like a great inspiration and just like noise when I found myself working like on parts that I wasn't as confident in, like the hair. I really needed help with that. And for some shading details and stuff, I used the pieces on the right for reference. Okay, so now let's assess. From the previous video, which you should have watched. Yes, yes. I had a 4 goal system, 4 or 5. I don't really remember. I just have 3 things written down, and the 4th one was like a kind of like, let's see what we improve on kind of goal category. So the first one was anatomy, and boy howdy, I really enjoyed the anatomy here compared to the previous one. I feel like it's not as broken, it's not as bad, it looks better. And for the colors, as I said before, the color thumbnails, I really like them. They're good. They have great value contrast compared to my previous ones. So yeah, I really enjoyed the colors here. I feel like that's one of my favorite things about this piece was the color, what's it called? Color palette I used. And yeah, really enjoying it. And for the forms and shapes of this piece, I did improve. It's better than my previous one. Like forms, shapes, edges, and stuff like that. Way better than my first one. But I feel like it could still like push it more, especially with the shape language. Like considering something like the hair, I feel like I lost a lot of shape language the more I went. Like I kind of like smoothed out like some of the interesting bits the more I went on. And I'll work on fixing that. But you know, it's a process. So yeah, those were my 3 major goals. Now let's talk about what I liked and what I didn't like. Now, what I really truly did enjoy was her skin. Her skin is so smooth. It looks like skin actually, and I can't believe I painted it. When I finished the piece and I was looking back, I was like, whoa, Nikki, you outdid yourself. You did not have to go this hard, but you did. Good job. And the lips, really like them. And I did like a bit of like lipstick smudge near the hand and below the lip. I thought that was very good and cool of me to do, and it was a really interesting detail. So yeah, that's what I really liked. If I were to redo this piece again, I feel like one thing that I'd improve on is still the anatomy. Like it's better than the first one, but I feel like I could push it more. And the shapes. Push more of the shapes. And yeah, this was really a fun piece to redo, even though it took so long. Don't even get me started. So many things happened over the course of making this video. I was originally planning on making this series like 3 parts long, but then I just kind of did everything at once. So I'm like, okay, never mind. 2-part series, let's go. So yeah, I hope this video helped you a bit if you're struggling a bit with your painterly style, or if you just wanted something to listen to. Who knows? I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing here. Who are you? Why are you in my house? Leave. But yeah, I hope this helped you. I hope you had fun listening to me talk and ramble about things I don't know how to do very well. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Up on the screen should be the final piece. Go check it out over on Instagram if you're interested, and go check out my comic if you want to see more of me drawing, I guess. I don't know. Just go check it out. Anyways, guys, I'll see y'all later. Ciao.